I am so incredibly excited to bring this course to you all. This is literally 25 years of my work in my clinic, with 10 years of teaching this to the world and millions of people, taking it in, applying it, giving us feedback on it. And what I'm doing here in this audio course is really paring this down so that you can master your metabolic switch. Before I get into all the details and I go through everything, I really want to just start off with how this information got to the place that it did, because I was in clinical practice for over 25 years, and it was a lifestyle medicine practice. And what I was teaching people was nutrition and fasting and detox and hormones and exercise and all the ways that we can bring our body back into a state of health. And the biggest challenge, to be completely honest, that I had was weight loss. I would put some people on a nutritional plan that worked amazing for them, and I would put other people on that same exact plan that didn't work at all for them. And I started to dive into the root cause of metabolic disruption and obesity. And I found a formula that I'm now bringing you that has worked over and over and over again. And here's the really exciting thing that I really want you to get, which is this isn't about deprivation. If you are coming to this audio course and you have been thinking, oh, I just didn't restrict calories enough, or I didn't exercise enough, or I didn't restrict my carbs enough, what I'm hoping you're going to find in this audio course is that when you learn to master your metabolic switch, food, your relationship to food, your enjoyment of food completely changes. And all of a sudden, you look at food as medicine, just like I'm going to teach you that you will look at the timing of food as medicine. So I'm over the moon thrilled to bring this to you, and, take notes, go back, listen to it, share it, do whatever resonates with you. But from the bottom of my heart, my dream and my prayer for this course is that you finally find the pattern of your own metabolic switch that takes you out of chronic disease, that helps you enjoy living in the body that you are so blessed to live in. So let's dive in. The first place I want to start this conversation really is why your metabolic switch matters. And again, going back to this idea that for so many years, I was teaching nutrition from the lens of the gut. I was teaching nutrition from the lens of toxicity. But once I started to understand that nutrition and the time of nutrition and the quality of our nutrition really impacted our metabolism, everything changed for me. And it really started by asking myself a really big question, which was, why do so many people have chronic disease? And if you're not aware of this, this is definitely bubbling to the surface of our culture right now. But we have a massive chronic disease epidemic. You all think we had a pandemic that was a problem? We have a bigger problem than that. We have a chronic disease challenge that not only exists in the US, I know a lot of you are listening from all over the place, but actually exists around the world. And anytime something is chronic, it's because we're doing the wrong thing over and over and over again. And again, what you're going to learn as we go through this course is that one of the major challenges we have is we're eating the wrong food at the wrong time over and over and over again, which is contributing to this massive chronic disease issue that so many people are suffering with. If this term chronic disease is new to you, you've never really sat with it and thought about it, I'm going to just sort of map out the challenge that we have as humans right now because it's a big one. And the statistics I'm bringing you are mostly here in the US. But unfortunately, as our food system has permeated into other parts of the world, these statistics are starting to become the reality of other countries. But take this in for a moment. And if you're in a place you can close your eyes, because I just want you to let this sit in. 60% of US adults live with at least one chronic disease. Now, chronic disease, let's just stop for a moment. Chronic disease can be cardiovascular problems, it could be cancer, it could be obesity, it could be chronic high cholesterol, chronic high blood pressure, chronic autoimmune disease. Most of these 60% of these US adults with one chronic disease, I want you to realize that those adults are suffering. They are finding some part of their health that is not working for them. So they've either been diagnosed or they've been put on a medication. 42% of Americans have multiple chronic disease issues. 42%. So this is like somebody who has an autoimmune condition like rheumatoid arthritis and also has a metabolic problem like chronic high blood pressure. So 42% have more than one. For me, this should be a concern, and for you, this should be a concern for all of us. If this is a lifestyle issue, why are we not helping these people that are suffering so deeply? Another statistic, as I break down this chronic disease problem that has really concerned me, is that between just the years of 2017 and 2020, which really was pre-pandemic time, this is really at the peak of my career and my clinic, 48.6% of US adults had some form of cardiovascular disease. That statistic is of grave concern for me, and let me tell you why. Because people who have chronic cardiovascular challenges are one moment away from a heart attack, one moment away from a stroke. These are people that are our mothers, our grandmothers, our favorite best friend. These are people that really matter to us. I am going to be incredibly transparent with you throughout this whole audio course, but this statistic really hits for me because I just lost a very dear friend at 54 years old who died of a cardiovascular challenge he did not know he had. Another crazy statistic that I brought to my YouTube channel, and I've been doing a ton of videos on this, is that 50%, take this in, 50% of Americans by the year 2050 are going to have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. What this means is that these people, 50% of these US adults, within just a short period of time, 25 years from now, are going to have a liver that is not functioning optimally. Your liver is how you detox. Your liver is how you break down hormones. Your liver is how you make ketones. You're going to learn a lot about ketones on this course. It's how you burn fat. In my opinion, next to the brain, the liver is the most important and hardest working organ in our body. And if that starts to go into a state of disease, every other system in the body is going to start to fall apart. And we've got 50% of adult Americans that are going to deal with that over the next 25 years. Okay, you know how when you're trying to get in and out of fat burner, sugar burner, and sometimes you struggle? It might be that you have a metabolic blocker that's at play here. Want to know what those blockers are? Click on the link below and I'll take you straight to a giveaway and you can have my list of metabolic blockers. And this chronic disease epidemic isn't just a challenge of adults. We've got, in the time I'm doing this recording, 2024, 35% of American children are either overweight or obese. When you look at that statistic, 35%. I grew up in the 1970s. A child that was overweight was incredibly unusual. Fast forward, 35% of American children are now suffering with an overweight or obese challenge, which, by the way, just so we're all clear, these kids that are dealing with this metabolic disaster are going to become adults that have to deal with a chronic disease challenge. Now, before the pandemic, there was a statistic that was going around, and those of us in the fasting world have been talking about it for a while. And it's that when they actually dove into what they call metabolic fitness, and metabolic fitness means that your blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, your weight, your total BMI, your waist circumference, your overall metabolic system is in balance without the use of medication, that only 12% of Americans were metabolically fit. That's atrocious. And that number actually went down after the pandemic. The pandemic destroyed many people's metabolism, and it went down to 8%. And when we look at this, you might be actually listening to this, and you might be thinking, well, I don't have any of these problems. But whether you are in tip-top shape and metabolically incredibly healthy or not, chronic diseases right now account for 90% of the $4.1 trillion spent on healthcare in the US. This is everybody's problem. And when we break down looking at cancer rates and cardiovascular disease and autoimmune problems and obesity, we start to realize that there's really one thing here for us all to fix, and that's metabolic health. I know you're struggling to lose weight. It may be your fasting length. So in this video, I'm going to show you the perfect fasting length to unstick weight loss. In fact, it's such an incredible tool for weight loss. I think you should start with fasting before you change your food to be able to get into that door in for losing weight.